Well, hello, kiddies! We're back again for yet another review! This week we have the opportunity, nay, the pleasure, nay, the delight to talk about another epic end to yet another trilogy, and yet another chapter, and yet another one of pop culture's golden gems. Yes, you're thinking correctly. It's the one, the only, Fast and Star Wars. More specifically, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Now, if you're any kind of fan of the saga, you would probably know that the last installment, The Last Jedi, was met with some of the strongest criticism of any Star Wars film created other than Solo, but who really counts Solo anyways? So it's needless to say that there's a lot of expectation and tension throughout the fan base, and everyone is wondering the same thing. Can JJ pull it off? Yes, he can. Can he do enough damage control to salvage what is left of this saga? Thank you, Rian Johnson. Well, we are so glad you asked. Here at R&R, we gave Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker an overall rating of 7.4 out of 10 points. Our watch meter states that this is the resolution that will make some of us wish the trilogy never existed, while bringing others a much-needed sense of closure. But we can all agree, we're glad it's over.
Welcome to the Cinema Club. R&R Reviews.
We've come to the close of this chapter of Star Wars, and fans couldn't seem to be more divided on how it all went down. Well, the same can be said here at R&R. So in the spirit of the holidays and all of this fandom fighting, R&R would like to present you with our first ever debate review. For this special occasion, we will be dropping our spoiler-free commitment. Now, for those that don't want to hear spoilers, as I did state, we did give this movie a 7.4 out of 10 points. We definitely think it is worth a see in theaters, especially if you are a Star Wars fan. If you're brand new to this franchise and you've never seen a Star Wars movie, this probably isn't a good place to start. That being said, I will now move on to the spoiler-filled portion of the review. Just in case you didn't hear that, there are large spoilers ahead.
Spoiler alert.
Spoilers!
They're coming! They're coming! Oh no! They're coming in through the back door!
Spoilers!
Oh, she's coming! Oh no!
My brother and I stand on completely opposite sides of this argument, and since we can't seem to get along about it, and come to a joint conclusion, we would like to argue it out on social media, because we know that social media is the solution to all the world's problems. So without further ado, I will state my case. Will you side with the left R or the right R? This film wastes no time jumping straight into the story, but with this being the finale and with how much pandering and build the last film was, how can we blame them? We come in ready to see the war, and that's what we get. Anyone who saw the preview knew the Emperor was returning in this film. Instead of wasting time, they hop right into revealing his evil plan. We find out the origins of Supreme Leader Snoke that we all thought was lost after the last movie crapped on our dreams. Then we proceed into the fast-paced story of the film. As the story progresses, we get to see several new planets and great new species and creatures. This is exactly what Star Wars is, and it brings in the nostalgic feel. Not to mention, the movie did a perfect mix of CGI and claymation to bring back an even more classic Star Wars feel. It truly was peak visuals. We are also met with several new characters who we get just a peek at, but enough to get us to like them and want to follow their story. We also get plenty of time for our old characters. I appreciate this greatly. Because this being the end of the Skywalker story, it is only right that we get a perfect blend of old and new characters. The score was incredible as always. John Williams perfectly blended all the scores from the past films and used them for each character and moment they belong to. Along with the story, we get some interesting plot points. They wipe C-3PO for some comedic relief, which was great. We get a scare that Chewie might be killed, but anyone who saw the previews knew this was a farce. And besides, what would it achieve to kill your greatest character off in the finale of your franchise? Our main characters all get good arcs and complete their story. We see Leia pass on after saving her son. We see Poe become the Han Solo he is supposed to be. We see Finn successfully play out his Leia role. We see Kylo Ren become the Anakin he is and get a well-deserved death. And finally, Rey fulfills her role as the new Luke Skywalker with new force powers we have never seen before and never giving into the Emperor, who in the end destroys himself. It was an incredible finish that tightly wrapped this franchise in a beautiful bundle, not to mention all the Jedi speaking to Rey at the end is probably the coolest Star Wars moment of all time. Well guys, that's what I feel about the film, and now I will hand it off to the other side of the R.
Now I know there was some good points made here, but give me just a moment while I defend the case that this is the worst resolve in Star Wars film history. The opening word crawl is worded corny and hokey, and it gives away a major facet of the story right off the bat. We rush straight into seeing Emperor Palpatine, supposed to be one of the biggest surprises of the film, where they attempt to blow off one of the largest plot mistakes Star Wars ever made, hoping the fans won't notice: the supposed Supreme Leader Snoke. Then, our evil villain, who has apparently been alive all this time, who knows how, explains his whole plan, which is coincidentally the entire plot for the movie. And then, we jump straight to the title sequence. Now, this film could not have rushed itself anymore. We haven't even been able to accept their attempts to repair this broken story, and by the time we even had a chance to process it, we've already jumped to 16 other planets with endless species and races of aliens, newly introduced characters, cameos from old characters, and unnecessary plot additions. Now, I know you're thinking, well, that sounds like all Star Wars movies, but it's not. This film tried to jam-pack so much crap into this movie that we find ourselves in Star Wars overload, leaving the theaters trying to recall anything from this jumbled mess of a film. But wait, there's more. The film exhausts us with its "we killed important characters, oh wait, we didn't" routine. C-3PO gets wiped, but then his memory comes back. Chewie dies, but oh wait, he's not dead. Rey's gonna die, but never mind. Instead, we'll act like we're gonna give Kylo the ending he deserves, and then we'll kill him instead. Oh, and we'll kill Leia too, but that's because she's dead in real life, not because it's relative to the plot. Not to mention that Palpatine's whole plan was for Rey to kill him, and she did exactly that. So didn't Palpatine actually win in the end? Also, can we just get one decent lightsaber fight? There were like none in this entire trilogy. Oh, and apparently Finn has force powers, but we're not actually going to address this. We're just going to instead leave it hanging off in the distance. And did I mention that it felt hokey and corny and rushed? It was as if they made up each scene as they went along. Now, I could keep going on and on and on and on, but we don't have time for that. So nevertheless, I digress. As you can see, our overall rating was a 7.4 out of 10. This is still Star Wars, and even the worst of Star Wars films are still some of the best films out there. Whether you hated it, loved it, or are somewhere right in between, that's okay. The ability to have all of these opinions and points is what makes the Star Wars universe so great. Without these kinds of things, what would all of us geeks do with our lives each and every day? As always, make sure you like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube page. We have some new big content coming out at the beginning of the year, so you're not going to want to miss out on that. Click those buttons. So remember, this is Star Wars, and it's definitely worth your watch. Until next time, guys, it's a beautiful day in the cinema hood.